This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KVNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
So back when I was in office, I was in the Alaska State Legislature for 2 terms, and welcome back, Tom Anderson Show. Good morning. When I was there, I was delighted to have an office neighbor named Mary, and she was newly elected just like I was, and she was a freshman, and under the Frank Murkowski governorship, I was in those 2 terms, and so was she, and she continued and moved up the ranks. And Mary Peltola now, fast forward with all her great successes and acclaim, a very thoughtful person, very intellectual, but doesn't cram it down your throat with her knowledge. She's very humble. She decided, and we're going to hear kind of her like a superhero, her origin story. She decided to run for Congress, and I saw that, and I was happy for her, and I thought, oh, good for her. Pat on the head. Give me a hug. You're so sweet. You're so smart. You're not going to get in the top 4, but I'm proud of you. I like you. Other people said that, too. Well, she did. She's number 3. She's the number 1 Democrat in the state now with Al Gross out. Thank God he's out. No offense, Al, but I definitely don't want to see you running anymore. I don't mind Mary running. I think some Republicans might even cross over and support her. I know 3 already. So Mary Peltola, bless you for your public service past and conceivably forthcoming. You're going to have a tough row to hoe, but let's talk about you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Tom. You make me laugh every time I listen to you. You have got to be one of the funniest people I know, Tom.
Well, you're very kind. Keep it coming. Hey, Stephen, turn up her mic a lot louder. Just kidding. No, but so thank you. So you got a team. I know you got an all-star team. One other thing is you've brought in some good people, I heard, and U.S. Senator Mark Bakich called in, who's a buddy of mine, and he said his wife is helping you, and she's awesome. So that is nice to hear. And I know, by the way, Mary, be prepared. There's no, like the sad earthquake in Afghanistan killed 1,000 people. We reported on that earlier, injured a bunch. Our prayers are for them, and I know yours are too. But I don't want the ground to shake when I'm complimenting you incessantly, and I'm a Republican and you're a Democrat. Because remember, our audience is mostly right of center, so they're probably like, why the hell is he being so kind to her? Because you deserve it, because you're a friend, and because you're a front runner, and I think it's important. Tell us about your life. Do you mind just first, so kind of who is Mary, so people get you?
Yeah, no, I don't mind that at all, Tom. Thank you so much. I am half Yupik and half American. You know, my dad is from Nebraska, and he moved here in the 1960s to teach up in Fort Yukon, and that's where he met Don Young. They became very close friends the years that my dad taught in Fort Yukon. And then my dad went into aviation instead. While he was a teacher, he bought a plane, and the love of flying really got to him, and I know, that's a real common story in Alaska. It's hard to be Alaskan without having a relationship with an airplane. But he ended up owning an air charter service, and that charter service got a contract to put all the telephones in the Bethel area. It used to, when I was growing up, there was one phone in town, and that phone was usually like at the tribal office or at some, like the municipal office. And when, before I was born, he had the contract to bring all the crew, basically AT&T folks, to each village. And he met my mom while he was in Bethel. My mom's originally from Queefook. It's the village right above Bethel. And her grandparents had lived at the mouth of the Gweek River, which is a little tributary between Bethel and Queefook. They had lived there year-round until she went into elementary school, and then BIA came and asked them to move to a village so she could go to elementary school. And so those are my parents. My mom was she worked at medical records for years and years and retired as a medical records clerk. And my dad was a pilot, and he was a teacher and a principal in 3 villages on the Kuskokwim, and that's where I grew up, and Bethel, of course. And when I was 22, and that's when I met you, actually. You were working for Terry Martin at the time, Tom. I bet you don't remember that, but I was an intern for Irene Nikolai.
I do remember, and I remember her. She was awesome as well. By the way, Dave Steeren listening intently and said, wait a minute, Nebraska, where his family's from, are you a Husker fan because of your pop?
Well, I have to tell you, you can't really be from Nebraska people without having Huskers swag in the china cabinet, like
It's
with
true.
the china and the crystal, like, the foam hand and the seat cushions, like they're all in the china cabinet with your finest china and crystal.
I love it, with the little shot glasses. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah,
No, but I remember when we met, and Irene and Nikolai, all the effort you did in terms of as a staffer and learning as an intern. Do you think that helped? Because I used that when I ran for office, and I've used that with clients. Use that in a constructive way to say, hey, hire me for PR, my firm, and or even this show. This radio show where I've had that experience. And if Steer never comes back, he can say the same if he's on radio, that experience matters, where you can talk intelligently. Well, when you want to be a policymaker, a community servant like you do at the federal level, don't you think that helps? And you can compare and contrast to like a Palin or a Begich for that one area where you worked in the legislature. That's a big deal, and served in it.
So I was an intern, and that really got me interested, and I thought, well, maybe I can do more in the field of education as a policy person. So when I was 22, I ran, and of course I lost, thank goodness, really. What 22-year-old should really, be in that kind of public service. I don't think I would have been doing myself any favors by serving that young. So I waited. I was a reporter for a little bit. I did the ARCS Midday News. A lot of people might remember RatNet, or ARCS as it was called, and it was a rural kind of channel. And then when I was 24, I ran again. But by then I was married and had a baby on the way, and so I was elected in 98. And served for 10 years, and it was a really, really good experience for me. I learned so much, and the biggest lesson I learned, Tom, is, and when I was 22 and 24, I had this messaging of, I'm going to go fight. I'm going to go fight for you. I'm going to go fight our enemies. And you know as well as I do, you need 59 best friends to get anything done in the legislature. And I quickly learned I needed to have positive relationships with folks. I needed to find partners. And I wanted to tease you, though. I had a bill in your committee, and
I know you did. Is it the soda bill?
It died, yeah.
Oh, my God. Let me tell you something. She was a harbinger of what was to come. It's Mary Nostradamus Peltola to all of us, because she said, Tom Anderson, I know that you're friends with Odom and the Coca-Cola and the Pepsi. Tom, I don't know if you drink it or not, but I'm urging you to consider helping me and even co-sponsoring this bill to get it through. And I said, what is it? And you said, it is to get soda and sugary drinks out of schools. And I said, Mary, that's a huge economic boon. Come on, kids aren't drinking it that much. And you're like, Tom, they are. Obesity, teeth, diabetes. And I said, Mary, I don't buy it. Boy, were you right. And I can publicly admit that. And now they're out of schools, and you were the pioneer of that. And I bow in respect. You were spot on. And I'm actually a bit embarrassed. Not that I treated you bad. I don't recall that, because everybody loved you, but that we stifled that. By the way, former State Senator Bill Stoltz just texted and said, I'm listening. He loves you. And he reminds that you worked on the state insect bill as an intern for Irene, the 4-spot skimmer dragonfly. So talk about a memory.
Unanimously. That bill passed unanimously. And Bill Stoltz has a mind like a steel trap. I have a lot of respect for Bill Stoltz, and he really helped me as a legislator and helped my region, and was so influential on the House Finance Committee. And we made so many advances while he was in that position. So my hat's off to Bill Stoltz.
By the way, is this a good moment to describe you? And this is what I mean. We can laugh and we can be charming, but you know what some people would do? They would say, you're a bastard, Tom Anderson, for what you did to my bill, and I never want to talk to you again, and I don't even want to see your face. And you are just the opposite, though. You're someone that says, no, you laugh, but I'm talking as a congressional member. Yeah. Do you think that gives you stature, that you have a heart and you can work with people even if you disagree and you don't have vendettas? It's an important question because we see that in Congress.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really critical quality for all folks in public service to have, is just that sense of humanity and giving each other grace And really, you have to have a sense of humor. You have got to have a sense of humor. And I certainly didn't mean to embarrass you. I just wanted to rib you a little bit about
You're
that.
right.
Because
I think about it. I think about it maybe once a year when I hear about other states and getting rid. And I think, I remember that with Mary. And I spoke about this. Your ears might have been burning a couple weeks ago because when you did so well, I said, "Oh gosh, folks, one of these days I'm going to tell the story." Now I have how I quashed the soda bill, and all the kids with cavities are flipping me off right now, saying, "Mary tried to help us quit drinking these."
Well, it certainly wasn't just that bill did not have a.
Well, I understand it wasn't exclusively yours, but it was part. Listen, we're going to come back with Mary Peltola. She agreed to 2 segments, and we're going to get into what her plans are, how the campaign's going. It's all right here. Good morning, Tom Anderson Show.
This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KVNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
Black bears and Coca-Colas and 4-spot skimmer dragonflies. Oh my. We're talking with Mary Peltola. She's a congressional candidate. Let's fast forward. So you now, over the last year, decide to run for Congress. You know that everybody's going to jump in the race. You're a Democrat. I look at you as like a moderate. I was going to say describe, not conceive. I conceive of you as one, but I think you are a moderate Democrat, and you can answer that question, are you or not? But suddenly all these people jump in and they run. Did you feel intimidated when you see 47 other people running? Were you like, why am I doing this? I don't have a prayer. Or did you always say to yourself, no, I have a shot?
Well, I wanted to give it a shot. You know, there's so many big issues right now in Alaska and in the nation. I think we're at a real pivotal point on a lot of different issues. And it was hard to sit this one out.
Yeah, I get it. And then when you jumped in, how does that work? Remember, I'm on the Republican side and I own Optima, and we have a ton of political clients and we help Republicans. And not hard right Republicans as often, some, but mostly right in the middle, in the center. In your case, you have to go to somebody, multiple people, a firm, an agency, a consultant. Was that nerve-wracking, or were you a bit worried that you can't get someone because Al Gross and Christopher Constant and some of the others, Adam Wool up in Fairbanks, they snag them in advance of you? Or did you have people in mind to help you?
Well, it's funny, one of the other factors, it wasn't just, really me by myself chomping at the bit to get into it. You know how it is when you've been in office, when you've been in public service. There are folks that you've contacted who reach back out and say, "Hey, you really should think about doing this. You ought to come out of your hiatus and give this a shot. What do you have to lose?" So, one of the folks I was talking to had connections with Ship Creek Group, and I started talking with Kim Jones at Ship Creek Group.
Oh, you have them. That's right. I forgot with Kim. I know Kim, and I'm thinking I wasn't even connected. Yeah, they're the biggest firm for the Democrats in the state by far. Not to brag, but I feel they're the Optima on the Republican side. And based on how many clients we have, from the party to Dunleavy to IEs, we're helping Murkowski through IEs, through a ton of lawmakers. That's the truth. That there are opposite on the D side. That's a big deal. Good for you.
Yeah. And so going into it, I knew I'd have that kind of professional team behind me, and Alaskans and, folks who also have a vested interest in Alaska and want to see positive things, want the best for Alaska. So I went into it feeling good. And like you say, it was a crowded field. And how do you set yourself apart? And I was very thankful that there was such a diversity in the field of candidates. I thought it was a really good cross-section of Alaska and really represented Alaska's diversity. But
I called it? I called it Palin, Gross, Begich, Sweeney, and I figured you would be 1, 2, or 3 after. So you'd be 5th, 6th, or 7th. And I thought our mutual friend John Coghill as well. And I thought maybe Lowenfelds and then Sando would be after. I was somewhat close. I didn't see you beating Sweeney. Were you surprised at that, or were you just waiting for the results and not analyzing it to that degree?
Well, I of course wasn't over-analyzing anything, but the thing that I kept thinking was that Sarah Palin and Nick Begich were going to take the lion's share of the Republican votes, and that's exactly what happened. There just wasn't,
enough votes left over for Tara. No, it's true.
Yeah, and on my side, we had Al Gross as a progressive, but there were 6 Democrats, but not many of us were very well known. So, statewide, and certainly all of us kind of had our pockets of folks that supported us, but the trick was getting the statewide support.
Sure. Now, I know you can't, in advance you can, but I know you can't coalesce and communicate with and do anything concerted with an IE or a PAC. You actually, you can before they launch, but once they launch, you can't. And so are you aware of any coming to help you at some point? I think, especially after the special election, let's say Palin gets the special and you really ramp it up for the 2-year term. Let's just hypothetically say that. I would presume PACs and IEs will come to assist you, wouldn't you, from out of state, just like they will whoever wins on the Republican side? That's just the nature of things, even if you're not working with them.
Yeah, and certainly, that's out there, but the strength of my campaign has really been the regular Alaskans. It's a grassroots thing. Folks that I've known in different capacities over the years have really come out in support of me, and it's really just a grassroots effort from everyday Alaskans, and I think that's a strength, ultimately.
Do you think that, here's a tough question, sorry to toss it in your lap, but I said I won't be so easy on you that we just fall asleep, everybody driving to work. But what about Schumer and Pelosi? So let's say you win. Do you think they're friends of Alaska, or do you think it depends on the topic?
I think I need to be on good terms with everyone in Congress, including the far right, including everybody, libertarians, independents, Republicans, Democrats. I certainly don't want to get pigeonholed or anybody. I don't want anybody to think I'm radical or out there. I'm as Alaskan as they come.
So in other words, if someone says, "Oh, Mary is a Democrat, so she's best friends with Nancy Pelosi," you're going to say, "I don't even know her. What are you talking about?"
I've never met her, and I think there is this projection or concern, but just in the same way that I don't think any of the Republicans are going to necessarily gravitate to fringe groups. I think Alaska is a very moderate state. I think most of us are down the middle, and I don't really think we're as partisan as some folks might think we are. I think we're just really interested in Alaskan issues and Alaskan solutions.
Don Young changed his vote and mindset on LGBTQ rights, and he also said let's legalize marijuana federally and get rid of sanctions for that. So people change on both sides. This is true. We have a couple minutes left. We're talking with Mary Peltola. She is the front runner. She's the Democratic candidate for Alaska's sole congressional seat, and there's going to be a special election same day as the primary for the statewide everything from Senate to governor in August, and then she will also be, no doubt, on the ballot in November. So you have a lot of campaigning ahead, a lot of heavy lifting. You got a good firm in Ship Creek and Team Kim and all of them. Let's talk about issues before we wrap up this interview, and I hope to get you back in the future. And folks, we're going to make a video of this. Should be done by tonight. Tom Anderson Show YouTube channel, and I'll share it with Mary. Issues. What are your big issues for Alaska so they can hear you, Alaskans can hear, and maybe they consider voting for you because of those?
Sure. I'm pro-jobs. I really am pushing for rural development on rural Alaska's terms. I really want to see us capitalize on that infrastructure package in Alaska. I'm pro-family. I know we've got to build more housing. We've got to reduce the costs of housing, both, in terms of ownership and renting. I think we've got to defend the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid expansion. I believe in investing in strong schools and supporting teachers. And I'm very pro-fish. Most of our rivers in Alaska are seeing a very bad spawner recruit ratio. It used to be for every salmon that spawns, 6 would come back. Now for every salmon that spawns, 1 comes back. And this is really statewide. It's a statewide issue because it's ocean productivity. I really support small boat fishermen, and I want to defend and protect folks living in rural Alaska and their subsistence rights. Subsistence only composes less than 1% of Alaska's resources. It's really a small user group.
Let me jump in with U.S. Senators Murkowski and Sullivan officially saying they're against Pebble. Are you as well?
Yes.
And how about ANWR? They're both for ANWR, and so is Begich, and so are others. Are you for ANWR at some level?
I'm open to ANWR. It's the law at this point. It's written into ANILCA. It was also written into that budget bill. At this point, it's the law. I also want to say that I'm pro-choice. I agree with Alaska's constitutional right to privacy, and I believe in safe and legal abortion. Are
you someone that's like Lisa Murkowski? You're pro-life personally, and you're a mom, and you're a doting mom. You have awesome kids, awesome family. You're a solid family person. But for rights of others, you're pro-choice. Is that fair?
That's fair. That's fair. I've got 4 kids and a couple grandkids.
Yeah, no, I was about to say you don't look old enough to have grandkids, but you drink from the fountain of youth for sure. Mary Peltola, it's always a pleasure. I wish we talked more. Let's get you back on in the future. And folks, we're going to put in the notes of this YouTube video and on our podcast how you can get a hold of Mary. You can ask her questions. You can donate. You can follow her. We'll get all that online. Mary, God bless you. Good luck up on the campaign trail, okay?
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.